welcome to Job Talk with SP Jain School of Global Management. I'm Dr. CJ, your host, and we're broadcasting from the Women in Leadership and Women in Technology Department at SP Jain's Singapore campus. This show is a tribute to Car Talk, but gives you a chance to ask questions about jobs, work, careers, and life mission. So if you have a work-related question or problem on any topic, doesn't have to be tonight's topic, just send an email to jobtalk@spjain.org and our secret moderator will pass it to us. You're anonymous, the moderator's anonymous. Hey, wait a minute, I don't get to be anonymous, but never mind. We'll either help you solve your problem or at least help you laugh and know you're not alone. First, time for a fun fact. Have you heard from the totally awesome book of crazy stories by Bill O'Neill? All right. Let me ask you this. Who was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the first person to do it twice and the only one to ever win the prize in two different fields? Here's a hint. Physics in 1903 and chemistry in 1911. And the answer is Marie Curie. So today we have an equally impressive person to be my guest, and I'm very, very honored to have her here tonight. It's founder and CEO and former McKinsey consultant, So-Young Kang. And our theme for today is, as you may have noticed, women CEOs, women in technology, and the future of learning. And she's got fantastic things to say about all of that. Welcome, So-Young.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy and delight to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, so can I get you started by just asking a pretty simple question? So you're tooling along being a McKinsey consultant, thinking, oh, doesn't my suit look great? And then one day you decide to run off and make a new consulting company, and eventually you run off and make a tech company. Why on earth would you do that? How did it all happen?
Well, because I'm a little bit crazy. And so one of the things that I'll often talk to people about, who are interested in becoming an entrepreneur or a founder is I'll usually ask them, are you crazy? And I say that because you have to be a little bit crazy or a lot crazy to basically leave what you think is a stable job. I mean, obviously, the truth is corporate jobs are not stable, but they are perceived to be very stable. So, when I was at McKinsey in the West Coast, I was working with a lot of tech companies. And I guess I had always known since I was young that I was going to start my own company one day. It was just a matter of finding out what it was going to be and when I was going to start. So that time was basically, I think, the fall of 2000, and after the global economic crisis, 2008. Then in 2009, I finally made the decision to jump ship during the absolute worst time imaginable.
Great.
To start a leadership consultancy, Awaken Group, which of course evolved into becoming a transformation design firm. But it was the worst absolute time to start a company. But I think that when I found my purpose and my calling, I couldn't say no to that. I had to jump all the way in and deep dive into pursuing my passion and my purpose. And so I've been living that life, I guess, for the last, 12 years, pursuing purpose, with the work that I do.
Fantastic. So now what distinguishes the Awaken Group from, say, McKinsey? Why would a client go there instead of McKinsey? And then I've got a follow-on question for the other company, the tech one.
Sure. So Awaken Group is a transformation design company. And so when I was at McKinsey, we did a lot of strategy work. We worked with a lot of large tech companies like Microsoft, Intel, Seagate Technologies, and we would develop strategies for them. Whether they're go-to-market strategies or tech strategies, competitive strategies, and that's what a lot of McKinsey consultants do. And the truth is, just in general in consultancy, you don't often get to see whether or not your strategies or recommendations are actually executed, because you will leave and it's quite expensive to keep us on board for that. So many times the strategy may or may not get executed, right? And so I wanted to change that and really at Awaken, take a much more human-centered approach to driving impact for organizations. So at Awaken, we integrate strategy, which is similar to what we did at McKinsey, with leadership and human-centered design and technology. So we bring these things together to solve wicked problems, and then really help the organization transform from the inside out. And so when I say from the inside out, I mean from a purpose and a vision and a mission and a values perspective out to then how they operate as a company. So it's a quite a different approach and a different way. Like, we don't compete with McKinsey. You know, McKinsey does amazing strategy work. What Awaken does is why a client would call Awaken is we want to execute. We want to transform our company. We want to transform the mindsets of our leaders, and we want to operate in a totally different way. We want to double our business. So we need a transformational change or innovations that are not incremental, that are disruptive. So that's when they would call a company like Awaken Group. So it's been really a privilege to do some of those transformations over the past decade. And I'm proud to say that Awaken, over 90% of our projects are executed.
Whoa.
Like 90. I can count on this hand which projects have not been executed and why they were not executed, but it's like on one hand.
And it's probably really good reasons, you know, and I don't think the other big consultancies can say that. That's pretty awesome.
No, most of the implementation rate of strategy is less than 30% in the industry. Pretty common. So, yeah, that's pretty common.
You've got a terrific track. So wait a minute. Whoa. So you've got this fabulous company with this great track record. Now, why go off and make another firm?
Because I'm crazy. So I think we established that already. I like to solve problems. I think fundamentally entrepreneurship is about hopefully solving really big problems. It's not about, I want to become rich and famous, or I think it's cool to be a tech CEO, because there are a lot of other things I could be doing with my time. I like to solve problems. And so the big problem that we saw when I was at Awaken Group was, we would do a lot of training and capability building and mindset changes for our clients. And it was really difficult to scale that, because you need a person in a room with 20 or 30 people in a classroom, very similar, right, to what professors do, right? And right, and it's very challenging.
Again and again and again for groups of 20,
with groups of 20 or 30, right? And you do that, and the experience is all based on how awesome that facilitator is. And it's really, and I know you're an amazing educator and an amazing facilitator, but you need to have that person. But it's really hard to replicate and scale to 1 million people.
That's a person. Yeah.
It's a person. It's really hard. So I thought, I wonder what it could look like if we had technology where I could digitize myself and deliver that experience even when I wasn't there. So that was like this crazy idea. And at the time, I wasn't planning to start a tech company. I thought for sure there must be some great tech out there. So I went off to go look for different technologies to basically digitize and scale what I was doing. My coaching work, my leadership development, my innovation workshops, etc. Project-based, hands-on stuff, right? Clearly, there must be something. Because 20 years ago, when I was at Citigroup, we used to do e-learning. And we would sit behind a laptop, watch a lot of videos. And at the end of the videos, we would take a bunch of quiz questions. And we would usually not be paying attention. And we would come back and continue that. So that was 20 years ago, right? So surely there must have been a lot of innovation in this space. Lo and behold, I was shocked to see that people were still doing that. They were still doing these e-learning like videos that were not so interesting, that were not engaging, and then basically giving me a quiz at the end. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to take my amazing 3-day leadership experience or my design thinking workshop and put that into a video and basically flatten myself into a video and do a bunch of videos with quizzes. I said, I'm not going to do that. There's no way.
No.
Right. So I had no choice. I was thrust into becoming a tech entrepreneur. And then I started to design what the tech would look like as a facilitator, as a coach, as a speaker. I was like, okay, what would I do now? Oh, now I would get everyone to introduce themselves. All right, everyone introduce yourself. Take a selfie, upload a selfie and a video of yourself and introduce yourself to the group, even though the group could be global, right? And then I would say, okay, tell me what you want to get out of my course or my program. Type it in. So I started to design the interactions exactly the way I would run a face-to-face workshop. And that is what became Nobi, because Nobi was always about growing knowledge into being, which is what I do at Awaken Group, but just using technology to do it.
Makes a lot of sense. I noticed this red thing on your desk right there. Oh, what is that?
Oh, this? So this is basically, really talking about mobile first and micro learning courses, because what people and creators around the world are doing is they're using Nobi's authoring tools, like yourself, right? Professors, creators, students, teachers, managers, leaders are using our software to create their own micro learning experiences. And it's really designed for the modern workforce. Who is the modern workforce? It's everyone on this call, right? It's people who are young, who are mobile, who spend more time on their smartphones than probably doing anything else. And so, but our current learning modality is still desktop based or in-person based, which is all good and has its pros, right? But there's the idea of being on the road, mobile, agile. Wherever I am, I have my phone with me. And so what we're doing is empowering creators, anyone, to take that content and learn how to design it in a really fun, engaging, gamified, social way, because it's possible. And if you know how to use TikTok, if you know how to use PowerPoint, you can Nobify anything.
As a matter of fact, I think you can just automatically transfer your PowerPoint slides into Nobi.
You can.
And then edit a micro learning experience from there. So anybody on the show tonight, they could, in the same way you wanted to digitize yourself and scale yourself up, they could do the same and be recognized for their expertise and have some impact. So one of the so, and it's super, super easy. I've done it. It's a fabulous platform. I love it.
Thank you.
But another thing that I think people are going to be thinking about who are on the call is, okay, women CEOs and women in tech. Have you ever faced any kind of issues or awkwardness or something in either of those kind of roles?
Yeah, so it's really interesting because I've been in business for quite a long time. While my name is So Young, unfortunately, I'm not so young. I'm so young at heart. I'm so young at heart. So I've been working for quite a long time. And I have to say that in my time at Citigroup, my time at McKinsey, I never really experienced a lot of gender discrimination. I would show up to a meeting with CEOs and senior leaders. I would have my McKinsey business card. I would sit down, I would speak, and they would listen. And they would value my opinion.
Paid for it. Damn well better listen.
Normal, right? All of a sudden, I'm the same person with the same name and the same background, and I become a tech CEO. And then I start to experience gender discrimination. And I said, because I'm also, I became an executive coach. I study human behavior and nonverbal communications. I've been studying it for 20 years. So I'm kind of an expert in nonverbal communications. And when I was observing this nonverbal communication, which is a dismissiveness, at first I thought, maybe I'm just being ultra sensitive today. And then I went to another networking event. Then I went to another and these were all tech networking events. And then after a week of going to all these networking events, I was like, there is systemic gender bias happening here. And I personally was very shocked. And the type of gender discrimination is unconscious. So the men who were doing it to me didn't realize they were doing it. And so there was just a sense of dismissiveness of things that I would say, or the tech I was working on, or a level of condescension that I found shocking. And I mean, not everyone, of course. Obviously, there are amazing people and there are amazing people who don't do that. But it happened enough times that it really made me understand why 2.3% of female founded tech companies get funded. 2%.
Whoa.
2%. So prior to having that experience, I think I thought, oh, that's because, they're not well spoken or they're not confident or, and I would have probably thought there were a lot of other reasons.
Yeah.
But I have personally experienced many times I'm part of that. I'm part of that group, that minority group. And it has been challenging, right? It's much more challenging because you're starting from a different place. You're not starting on level playing ground with, unfortunately, men.
Oh my
And that's
gosh.
the reality. And I think it's important to recognize it. And because I'm an optimistic realist, to recognize it and then come up with strategies to figure out how to still stand out and do the things that I need to do. Because I'm not planning on changing my gender anytime soon.
What can you do? What kind of strategies?
So I think one thing that I did was, so that I've done many things and I'm still working on it. So I haven't cracked it yet. And so when I do crack it, I'll let you know. So I'm always
Please let
open
me
to
know.
new suggestions and ideas from others as well. But one thing is I read a lot about gender bias and unconscious bias. I created an OB program to basically learn by teaching. So
You would.
I did, and it was a great way for me to learn in the process. So I created a program called Fostering Gender Inclusive Environments, which is really for men and for women to raise. I'm happy to share it with everyone on this call as well. I'll share the link with you, but it's free. And I did that because I wanted to raise consciousness to help people to observe the next meeting, observe who speaks over who, observe how many times a female gets interrupted versus a male, right? And all of these different things that are happening every single day that we don't actually even, we're so used to it, right? And so one thing is to study and to research it. The second thing that I did was I read a lot of articles from a tech perspective around the type of questions that a female tech founder would be asked versus a male tech founder. So I was equipping myself. And when I first read the articles, I was actually pissed. I was upset because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was asked all those questions on the female list. And then I started preparing the answers for the male list. And so one of the things that I started to do, and I'm still working on doing it, I don't get it right all the time. I'm going to share like a really quick tip that hopefully helps everyone. I noticed, this is an observation, that sometimes when a question is asked to a man versus to a male versus a female, the female will answer the question like directly. So you ask me a direct question and I'll answer it directly. Sometimes men won't answer the question directly and will literally answer something completely different. And the person asking the question is totally fine with it. And
I see politicians do this all the time.
All the time. So it's actually a skill. And in the past, I think I would have poo-pooed that as no, that's whatever. But there is something to that in terms of guiding the conversation and directing and making sure that your messages get heard. So it's a skill. It's something that I'm working on developing myself. And I'm still not great at it because I tend to just answer questions directly when asked. So I'm working on how to expand my repertoire of how I respond in conversations.
Well, it seems to me that's an empathy thing. If you care about the other person getting the information they're wanting, you'll damn well give it to them. But if you just care about yourself and your own messages like a politician, you'll just answer whatever the heck you want. And there you go. Another thing that I had seen on a TED Talk There's a fabulous TED Talk on women founders and how they receive less money. And one of the things that this researcher found was that the women founders were presenting how they've built up the business and it's stable. We've got loads of customers and we're going to keep them. It was all about safety and stability. Whereas the guys would go out and say, oh, there's 7 billion people in the world and we're going to have 6 billion people as our customers. We're going to make how many billions and so forth. It was all aspirational. And that's the message the VCs wanted to hear, not this is a stable and growing business, which you would think they would want to hear. Actually, before hearing anything else, sorry, gotta move to it's time for a did you know? Notable news. All right. I had, given the recent Russian and Ukrainian situation, which we have to tread on very lightly, I was passed by my British husband something written by John Cleese, and it's out there on WhatsApp, and there's a lot more to it. But here's just a little piece of it. Alert levels raised. The English are feeling the pinch in relation to the recent Russian threats and have therefore raised their security level from miffed to peeved. Soon, though, security levels may be raised yet again to irritated or even a bit cross. The English have not been a bit cross since the Blitz in 1940, when tea supplies nearly ran out. Other politically incorrect but hilarious text has been removed to protect the ears of the innocent and to protect my own ears from being severely boxed by our marketing team. This is by John Cleese, British writer, actor, and tall person. No, it's not Sir John Cleese. He's refused knighthood, saying he's too naughty for knighthood. On a personal note, whatever your nationality or political conviction, please help whoever is in need due to the fighting. There are wonderful relief efforts and charitable activities happening all over the world, and every little bit helps. And every one of us can pray for peace. So moving on to questions from our listeners and some continuing questions that I have for you. What advice would you give to a young professional woman who's trying to break into those leadership ranks or who is in tech and, wants to be heard and not discriminated against?
Well, I think it's important to have a clear voice and to have confidence. And so I think a lot of women, that I mentor, a lot of it's about confidence. They feel like they don't belong or they have nothing valuable to contribute. And so especially when they're earlier in their career, I know that you and I don't have that problem, but
I'm happy with my mouth. It's harder to keep it closed.
Exactly. And the idea is that, and I have to say, when I first went to business school, I was also quite intimidated, to speak unless I really had the right answer or like something very valuable to say. Right. And so I think it's getting over that mindset. And again, it's going to the women who want to answer the question and they want to answer it well versus just speaking. And so one of the pieces of advice I would give you is it's okay. You are enough. What you have to contribute is enough. It could be an insight, but it doesn't have to be. It could be summarizing the conversation. It could be asking a good question. Sometimes the best contributions you can make to a conversation is by asking a good question. And so be curious. And everyone has imposter syndrome, including me. We all have imposter syndrome, right? So the idea is you belong and you basically go in there, speak your truth and speak with confidence. And I think if you do that, other people will start to listen to you as well. And obviously there will be there will be times when you will be mistreated or people may dismiss you, hold your own, keep your composure, right? And then try it again, go at it again, try it a different way. I think also having male allies is really important. So I will sometimes ask someone to introduce me because I find that when I'm introduced, then then the audience is more ready to hear what I have to say versus just showing up as myself. So there's different tips and tricks around. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, these are some of the things that you learn. Tricks of the trade, but don't give up. We need that 2.3% to go up double digits, right? And so we need a lot more women to stand up, and we need a lot more men to create space to encourage and promote women as well.
Yeah. Well, part of what you're saying makes me think of fake it till you make it. And that reminded me of Amy Cuddy from your business school, Harvard Business School.
Yeah.
And she's got this great TED talk about power posing. So if anybody listening has not seen it, go watch that video because it's super, super useful. Another thing about women versus men happens in job applications. Stunningly, you look at the job description and the qualifications there that an employer is looking for. And if women don't have all of those things, they think, okay, I'm not qualified for that. I'll move on. Yeah. If a man hits about 50% of it, he says, hey, what the hell? I'll put my CV in. Yeah. You never know. And then he gets the job.
Yeah.
So if there's any women out there listening who think you have to have all the qualifications to get the job, no. You don't.
Absolutely. In fact, I have a funny story about that when I give feedback. So over, the past, I guess decade plus, I've been, I've had lots of employees, interns, etc. And just on average, if I give feedback to a female employee, it might be like they're an 8 out of 10. So they're doing really well. They're getting promoted and they're doing awesome. There are a few things they can work on to go from 8 to 9 or 10, right? But they're doing really well. The female will focus on, oh my God, you're right. Those are the things I really need to do better. Right. Yeah, I'm not that great in that area, right? I will have
20%, man.
Screwed up 20% of the time. And I'll give a feedback session to a guy who's 6 out of 10. And 6 is, not doing that great. And he'll be like, damn, wow, I'm good. I'm awesome. And I'll say, and I've even had to do this before where I would say, just on average, 6 is not a good score. So I should say,
before you go to the bar and have a drink.
These are my expectations, and this is where you're performing. It's under the expectations that I have, and I've had to literally spell it out for and this is not obviously not for all male employees, but this is just a funny story where I had to illustrate the difference, but it was like starky. It was really quite startling how different it was.
So if you're a female leader or manager with female and male employees, when you're giving that feedback, you may have to make some big changes to how you're presenting it.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
See, we've got a listener question. Pratyush Oberoi says, hi, CJ and So-Young. Thank you for making us part of this session, and thank you for being here. I've always imagined myself working in the big 3 consulting firms. My question is, how do you prepare yourself so you can crack these companies and work in a field like an impact consulting?
Well, great questions. So I think one is obviously you have to, technically there's some technical parts that you have to prepare, and then there's the softer elements. So the technical parts, obviously you have to nail the case study. So technically you have to practice, and really learn how to crack a case. There are tons and tons of research and resources out there, so you can figure out and practice and get better. I can tell you the first million, lots and lots of times I did it, I was terrible. And I think even the person who was doing the practice cases with me was probably like, she's probably not going to make it. And I could tell that they thought that, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to keep practicing. So, so just encourage everyone, you can practice and get better. So that's on the technical side. I think on the other side, which is more the softer side, a lot of these big three, MBB, I mean, are looking for leaders, people who want to have a positive impact and who care about solving big problems. So I think the more experience and exposure you have to stretching yourself, being able to be seen, to be thinking outside the box, and willing to take risks to have impact will definitely help you to stand out among a very, very competitive group of people. So you don't want to be just all IQ. You want to be IQ, EQ, CQ, cultural adaptability. So I think having a balance of different experiences will help you to stand out. So you want to be a critical and amazing problem solver, as well as being creative, thoughtful, and just a joy, like someone people want to work with.
And one of the things what?
No, I was saying, so sorry. It sounds like it's everything, but but it's
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You do have to get it all right. And when I was hiring for Accenture, yes, we were looking for people who could do the job. You got to do the job, got to do the job. But there's a bunch of people who could do the job.
Yeah.
Who do you want to be up late at night working on a proposal with under a stressful situation, in a stressful situation? Who's going to be fun to work with? So that personal part of it actually can put you over the top totally. Now, you mentioned a link a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh, that link.
Can you share that? Some folks want that.
Sure. Okay. So just to share, and about, because we started this whole conversation about impact, right? And one of the things that I'm very driven by is how we can really impact and create jobs and skills, digital skills for the future. And that's a very big thing I'm passionate about. So at Nobi, like we talked about, it's an authoring tool where you can learn how to design these interactive social experiences for anyone. But there's also a science and an art that underlies the technology, which is called micro-learning instructional design. And so for those of you who are looking at future skills you want to develop, we have just earmarked $10 million in scholarships for people who want to learn this skill. It's called micro-learning instructional design. I'll send a link. I think there's a link. I'm not sure if Radhika has it. Can basically post the link. Oh, there it is. Thank you so much, Radhika. And that link is for you to be able to find out about what MID program is about. At the very top, you'll see the scholarship application. Anyone can apply for the scholarship. You don't have to have any prerequisites because we want to gift this to the world. You can be 20, you can be 80 years old. And we want you to learn and develop these digital skills because and we want to encourage you to create. So the whole idea of creation right now, the whole TikTok thing, it's really about creation and expressing yourself. And now you can do it. You don't have to be a TikTok video person, but in Nobi, you can take multimedia and then express yourself by creating programs, experiences, and you can all download the app for free and start creating today. You don't need to even have the certification. But if you're kind of a learner and you want to learn, and the research behind it, you can take the certification. But if not, you're a doer, download the app and just start creating. I'm a doer, so I tend to just try it myself.
And that's the thing that tech folks do and that designers do. We mess with stuff. So just like download it for free and mess with it.
Yeah, click the yellow button and just start creating. And create in any language, in every language, and share it with everyone. It would be super fun to just create and see how people respond.
Now, in terms of impact and in terms of future of education, how does Nobi fit in with like the future of learning and stuff?
Sure.
What is the future?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it before because, the future of learning is all about, in some ways, the future is going back to the past. So in the past, had the Socratic method of teaching and learning, where you ask questions and then you had to think and you had to think about really big philosophical questions. And that was really how people in the past and the ancients learned. They were asked questions and ask each other questions, a lot of reflection, a lot of discussion. And that was where true learning took place. Now, if you fast forward to learning today, which started in the Industrial Revolution, learning somehow became knowledge transfer. 30, 40 students in a class, teacher in the front, I talk at you, and then you listen and take notes. So that's what the modern education system has become. So the future of learning is going back to kind of the roots of learning, which is, I know everything that you do, right, CJ? You engage with your students, you're asking them questions, you're getting them to think, and you're getting them to interact with you and participate. So for me, the future of learning is going back to the roots of learning, going back and really reintroducing experiential learning, transformational learning back into an experience. And Nobi is a critical part of that. Nobi, at its core, is a transformational learning experience if you choose to design it that way.
Now, also one of the things that I love about Nobi is that as a micro-learning platform, it's not all about taking you out of life and out of your work situation, and then you learn some stuff, and then you go back. Working and learning are integrated, and that's the way actually it always has been. So again, you're pulling up the past and making it even better by having these. Yeah, and then when you learn something, you can actually do it in context, and then when you need something, you can look up something that you need.
I think the power, and that you're so right, about work, learning in the flow of work. So part of this whole idea of like your mobile phone, you have your mobile phone with you, right? All the time. And so, when we go through, let's say we're designing an onboarding experience. Onboarding should not be an exercise where you sit in a room and you get a handbook this thick of policies. That's not really onboarding. The purpose of onboarding is for the person to feel connected with other people, get to know their teammates, have coffee, find out where to find things, get oriented, turn on the computer, learn where the systems are. So with Nobi, you basically would direct that person to go have coffee with CJ, go take a selfie with her. You would design different actions that you would want the person to do in real life. And that's why Nobi is action-based learning, but you can design that. So it's totally up to your creativity. If you want to design something that's boring, that's just read, you can. But we hope that you would design something that's more fun. And so the whole idea of creating that is to basically give you the tools you need to create something fun, engaging, and impactful. And the whole idea is empowering people with the knowledge and the skills for the future of learning.
Absolutely. And learning isn't somehow separated from life.
No, part of it.
We learn all our lives, and we need to have that reflective cycle. I do something, and then I reflect on, hey, how could it be better? Et cetera, et cetera. Hey, I've got a puzzler. It's puzzler time, everybody. So last week with Arun Sundar, we had the following puzzler. Ravi is an assistant butcher, reaches more than 6 feet in height, over 183 centimeters, and wears a size 10 shoe. That's a UK size 9. What does he weigh? Well, he weighs meat. He's an assistant butcher. Sorry. A lot of these crazy little puzzlers are their creativity exercises to help us realize that no, when you're actually making a question harder, don't. Or when you're putting constraints on your thinking, don't. So tonight we've got a new puzzler. 2 women are having drinks in a restaurant and both order iced tea. One's thirsty and has 4 of them. The other's hungry and she only has 1. Sadly, the tea was poisoned, and the girl who had only 1 died. The 5 tea drinker was perfectly fine. So why did one woman die, but the other was fine? Tune in next week, actually 2 weeks from now, to find out the answer. And remember, think creatively, take off the constraints. Now, does anybody have... I'll tell you after everybody hangs up. Okay?
I need to think about it first.
Now, does anybody else have any more questions for So-Young? We've got her for all of 3 more minutes. Anybody? Anybody? Oh, Pratyush has a lovely thing, a beautiful thank you. And Anuruddha, that's great advice. Not to be afraid of rejection, not trying the application. Yeah, it costs you nothing but time and
Creativity.
some creativity. And directing this discussion our way, taking control of the room and control of the discussion. That's a key skill. Very, very, very good. Well, I would like to ask you for one final piece of advice.
Sure.
For entrepreneurs, consultants, and women in leadership and tech. Final advice. Final advice for these 3 kinds of people.
Okay. For entrepreneurs, make sure you know your purpose and your why of what you're building. Mm-hmm. If you don't, it will be really hard to go through the tough times which will come. So invest in knowing your why.
They will come.
They will come. So the why is what keeps you going when the world tells you they don't understand what you're saying and what you're doing. So know your why is the first one for the entrepreneur. For the consultant, be curious to solve problems and be willing to do everything it takes to solve that problem. So foster curiosity. For the females in the room on women leadership, don't give up. Invest in yourself and have mentors and allies to journey with. So those are, I think, the key pieces as a woman. Don't do it alone. You don't have to do it alone, right? So find mentors like CJ and allies to journey with, because you can do it and we need to do it together. So that would be kind of, I guess, some words of advice. Hopefully it's helpful to all of you as you are on your journeys. And there are no right and wrong paths in life. And so you just take the journey. And I always tell people, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but today I try to do the best that I can with the things I've been given today. And I don't do a half today in anticipation of tomorrow. I try to do the best that I can today. And then that tends to open doors for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And as they say on Car Talk, you have wastefully squandered another perfectly good hour listening to Job Talk. Thank you to our esteemed guest, So-Young Kang, and we will see you 2 weeks from today.
Thank
you, So-Young.
Thanks for having me, CJ. Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. That is
so embarrassing. I'm always embarrassing myself.
Oh my gosh, I need to get one of them. I love it. I need to get that.
Thank you so much. Bye for today.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello there.